Hi, I'm Will Cedric,
I'm Al Kindle.
and this is Inside the Bot. What's going on? What
Ah,
are you doing here?
hey, Will, thanks for having me.
So, how are you doing, Al? I've got a treat for you today.
Oh,
We
what is it?
we got Brutus are going to be coming on. Zoe Stephenson's going to be coming on, talking about her fight with Chomp, and we've got Greg Munson. We've got a plethora of guests to get through,
Wow,
and we've got
excellent.
you, which is the icing on the top of this amazing bot cake.
Well, I'm honored to be here.
It's really cool to have you on, and we've missed you. We've missed you on BattleBots. We've missed your furious bot. What's it been like just sitting there? I bet you're raring to go for season 3, aren't you?
Yeah, we're already we're working on things. We're doing some design changes. We're doing some Hammer version 2 testing, reduction ratios, and things like that. New methods of igniting the fire.
That's so cool. Is that basically what you've been working on inside the shop lately? I've seen some featherweight. Is it featherweight robots you've been working on as well?
Um, yeah, we have a NERC event coming up at the Franklin Institute on October 8th. So I'm working on a 30-pound sportsman and a new 12-pounder as well.
Oh, cool. What sort of weapons are on those, or can you not tell us?
The Sportsman is a horizontal hammer,
Okay.
and the 12 pounder I'm bringing back the 12-pound Tyrant with some sort of saw weapon, rotary saw.
Okay.
Whatever parts I have laying around.
Just what you find in the scrap heap.
Yeah, basically.
Did you just say a horizontal hammer?
Yes,
So blacksmith, you would say, is a vertical hammer.
right.
How? What? I've never seen a horizontal hammer.
That's why I did it.
Ha-
But
Is this
yeah, the bot is very big. It's 45 inches wide. It's actually invertible, and the hammer swings through the entire frame.
okay?
I have some pictures of it up on the blacksmith page.
I haven't seen this. I'm gonna have to go and check this out as soon as we're done recording because that sounds awesome. I'm
Good.
imagining, it's basically a guy with a bat hitting someone, which
Kind
is
of, yeah.
which goes well with your mobster kind of character that you play.
I aim for the kneecaps.
Is that what you've been messing around with inside the shop then? Those two bots there.
Yeah, and like I said, we got together a couple times and we added some reduction to the blacksmith hammer drive, and we did some current graphing, and we were able to significantly drop the current by adding another 2-to-1 reduction. We have a couple more tests we want to do with some different weight heads, and once we get that squared away to where we think it'll survive, then we can move forward with the actual design.
Yeah, is it you're kind of putting off anything major until season three's out in the open and everyone's invited?
For the most part, I mean, we can do a lot of testing and literally design the whole thing. That doesn't really cost any money. So that's stuff that all takes time too. So it's all valuable testing things that we can do beforehand.
I know when you were on last time, you wanted to improve the flame aspect of it,
Right.
the
Yeah.
ignition of the flame and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Alan's been working on that. We're trying a different type of igniter. It's a high temperature igniter as opposed to a spark. And he's having some really good success with that so far. And I think by next time we'll have everything working pretty close to 100%.
That's really cool. I really look forward to seeing Blacksmith again.
Oh, thank you.
So we've had a bit of news on the BattleBots front this week. Well, not this week. It's kind of been building up. We've had a load of international deals. We've got a massive double season finale episode coming up, and and there's the whole hashtag We Want Season 3 thing going on. Have you seen that?
Right. Yeah, we're involved with that, and we're trying to spread the word. And
Yeah.
if everybody wants to see some more BattleBots, get out there and let ABC know.
I mean, I like to think all the people listening to this are pretty hardcore fans already, so I think they're
Right.
on the cause. But I've just been retweeting everyone. I've been
Yeah.
going crazy. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get all my friends involved. I try to share everything on my personal page, and people. I do have some people at work that are still watching, even though I'm not on it anymore. I try to tell everyone, you got to keep watching. We need the ratings. And you can tell the people who are really interested in it. And some people just stop watching as soon as whoever their relative isn't on anymore. But there are some people who legitimately like it, and they start following it. And I can tell which ones, because they'll actually come in. Like today, I came in and a couple guys came up to me and were like, "Oh yeah, I watched last night, and the Chomp hit the chain, and you know it's cool when people are actually into it, way past my involvement, which is great."
And it's cool that people are like into it enough to catch up with it after the Olympic break, so they haven't just forgotten about it because it's not been on for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I looked at the ratings, and our ratings are right back up where they were before.
That's really cool.
We pretty much got everybody back. And our ratings have been fairly stable, so we're very hopeful that we'll get renewed.
On that subject, I caught up with Greg Munson, and shall we have a little listen to what he had to say about the future of BattleBots and everything that's been going on lately?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Greg, come out and talk to us. So, how are you doing, Greg? You all right?
I'm okay. We're almost at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. The 2-hour season finale is coming up on September 1st, so that's very exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. It's been a rough summer, to say the least. But I'm glad that we now have this final run of episodes is going to be without interruption or preemption or delay from other events happening on television. So that's great. So it should be a nice finale for the fans.
Definitely.
And yeah, and there's some great, outstanding, spectacular matches. It's awesome.
Did you anticipate any interruptions when you started this season?
We knew going in season 2, the summer of 2016 for season 2 was going to be tough.
Yeah.
Obviously, because of the American presidential elections and the Olympics. And then ABC switched us to Thursday nights, which seemed like a great thing. You know, we get our own night. But that happened to be the night when Obama gave a speech on gun violence, which the country, I think, needed to hear, but it just was unfortunate that it had to be on Thursday night.
Yeah, he could have picked Wednesday, couldn't he?
Wednesday would have been all right, you know. It's very frustrating, super frustrating.
Especially when you want to kind of generate that social media buzz.
Well, yeah, so before the Obama speech, conventions, and the Olympics, we had the Minotaur blacksmith fight go viral internationally.
Yeah.
20 million, probably more. I mean, if you count the Brazilian websites that also re-aired it, probably 30 million views worldwide. Crazy. So all of that social media momentum just hits a brick wall because we're not on Thursday night. And then we're delayed the next Thursday. And then we're delayed the next Thursday. And then we're finally on. But then the Olympics postpones us for 2 weeks.
It's a nightmare. But we're back on.
You couldn't have
tonight.
a worse, like you said, nightmare scenario for a television show.
No pun intended on the nightmare there.
Yeah. Well, he's back tonight.
Exactly.
fighting Beta. So that should be exciting.
But it hasn't been all doom and gloom.
No,
there have been a lot of international deals going on, I've seen.
Yeah, so that is definitely a silver lining. So obviously, you know, fans have probably read the press that we did a deal with Sky. And Sky is selling the show like gangbusters. And they're actually having help from Tom Gutteridge, who we hired. And if you know, Tom was he the owner? I think he was the owner, or at least the head guy at Mentorn, right?
Okay.
He is the executive producer for international for BattleBots, and he's just doing an amazing job. I think we're in almost 150 countries.
Whoa.
We're actually working on an international website that will launch very soon, so international fans of the show can go to a page and find their country and see what channel they can go.
Will they kind of get localized content, kind of that runs alongside what they're seeing on TV?
I hope so. I mean, it depends on some broadcasters will play it up big. I know Spike is doing a lots of great fun stuff with the show. They're doing I think they're doing a huge co-viewing Twitch broadcast
Oh,
or
wow.
stream for their premiere. I'm not quite sure, but if you're in the UK, check out the Spike website, and there's something going on with Twitch and the premiere that should
Oh,
be a lot
okay.
of fun.
That could be
But
cool.
yeah, they're gonna. Most of the territories have bought both seasons, so of course they'll start with season 1, and then some will wait and then show season 2. Others will just roll right into season 2. So it should be a great fall for BattleBots and robot combat in general around the world.
It's exciting. What does it mean for kind of the health of the show?
Oh, it's a huge boost. It's a huge boost. It's a giant vitamin shot for BattleBots. The ratings for the ABC show were okay.
Yeah.
The overnights were okay. They weren't as good as they were last season, but that has a lot to do with HUT levels being down in general. HUT meaning homes watching television.
Okay.
There's more cord cutters than ever. Plus, they moved us to a night that's not traditionally, it's the Grey's Anatomy kind of romantic soap opera doctor show night on ABC, and not a night you would expect robot fighting to be on.
I don't know. There's a lot of bot love.
Yeah. Well, that we're trying to make the bot love take over the doctor love, and then of course the summer was crazy, like we talked about. And a lot of our core viewers still don't know that we're on TV. I hear it all the time, like that's back, that's on. Oh my god, I love that show.
Yeah, it's the same with
Where
Robot
can I
Wars
see
over
it?
here.
Yeah, so it's just I guess the PR efforts could be better. But that said, the ratings have not been terrible. They could be better.
No.
But the good news there is when the DVR numbers come in, the people watching, recording it.
Yeah.
As long as it's within 3 days of the originating broadcast, the rating number goes up about 20 to 25%, which puts us in a much better position to make the network happy and give them their return on investment in terms of advertising.
Do they care about the international deals as well?
They do. So, of course, that helps promote the show here. They get some money for those deals. Yeah. And my hope is that when you look, for ABC, for any network, it's about the return on the investment. Mm-hmm. They give a lot of money for the budget of the show. We make the show, we deliver it to them, they put it on air, and they hope that people watch it. So they're advertising that they sell, and the advertisers that buy the space are happy.
Yeah.
And money is made and a profit is made. When you add to that international sales and repeats on like a Disney XD, which were off the charts on the ratings. They were incredible ratings on Disney XD.
Wow.
One hopes that we get the thumbs up for season 3.
That would be great. So on the subject of season 3.
Yes.
What can the fans do to help season 3 happen?
Just like, I hearken back to the Star Trek days where Star Trek was unfortunately taken off the air and the fans wrote letters to the network and said, bring it back. But fans should tell ABC that they love the show. So there is on Facebook, I think it's ABC Network is the handle. That's the same on Twitter, ABC Network.
Yeah.
And then, of course, ABC has their BattleBot show page on Facebook and Twitter, which is BattleBots on ABC. Mm-hmm. So if you tag those people in your Facebook, Twitter posts, and some of the fans are using the hashtag We Want Season 3, and others are using BattleBot Season 3. Just use them both, but tell the network how much you love the show, how it's your family loves it, how your kids love it, how you love it, whatever you want to say. But the more that the network hears that there's a fan base out there that adores and loves and watches the show religiously, that can only help.
Yeah,
so go for it.
I think a coordinated kind of attack on the final day, I reckon, is the one. That 2-hour-long episode, you should get We Want Season 3 trending. We got everything trending.
That would be fantastic, and it's really going to take an effort of the fans to self-organize and do that. But if we can get We Want Season 3 trending, hashtag BattleBots, that would be amazing.
That's the dream.
Amazing, yeah.
How did the double episode thing come about? Is this just playing catch up because of the missed episode?
The double episode, the 2-hour season finale came about because on September 8th, which would be the Thursday when it was originally scheduled for, is the return of football.
Oh no.
And that first football game, American football, that first football game is a repeat of the Super Bowl. Same two teams battling it out.
Yeah.
So much like the Olympics, we will lose viewers to the Super Bowl. Now, hardcore fans don't understand that because I get a lot of emails from hardcore fans. I would never watch the Olympics over BattleBots. You're crazy.
Yeah.
They should have just put the show on. And football, no way I would. But yeah, people have to understand that on ABC, BattleBots attracts a huge amount of family viewers.
Yeah.
Kids cajole their parents to watch the show, and suddenly parents are like, "Oh my God, this is great!" Even moms are loving it, dads are loving it. But when there's a football game, that remote could be hijacked and switched to the other channel to watch the football game. So we do not want to be in a ratings battle against a rehash of the Super Bowl, just like we didn't want to be in a ratings battle against, Michael Phelps winning amazing amounts of gold medals and gymnasts and all that stuff. Yeah. So luckily the network said, okay, well, let's just squish episodes 9 and 10 together. You're going to see the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals all in one epic 2-hour time frame.
Yeah.
And which is great because you really can see the evolution of the bracket down to the final moment.
We spoke a while ago about and some secret rumbles came up. Have any of those made it in, or is it just too tight for that?
Well, I'm excited to announce that there will be a epic, amazing rumble in this 2-hour season finale.
Ooh, exciting! And
it's involving 3 of our most top, best, professional, awesome drivers, who unfortunately didn't do as well as they had hoped during the tournament. But in this rumble, you will see what all of them are capable of. They didn't really get a chance to show what their robots were capable of and their awesome driving abilities and active weapon abilities during the previous bit of the season.
Yeah.
But now we will, and it's a fantastic rumble.
That is exciting. Is that an Inside the Bot exclusive?
I guess it is.
Yes!
We
got an exclusive, finally.
Now, but it doesn't stop there. There are 5 additional rumbles.
Okay.
That I will, as soon as the season ends, as soon as September 1st is over, and I'll probably wake up the morning of September 2nd and upload 5 rumbles to our YouTube channel.
Ooh.
And there's some fun ones. There is an MIT rumble. You know how there's lots of teams from MIT this season. So we threw all of them in the box, and off they went fighting. Awesome. There is all the young girl drivers have a rumble. So Hannah from Ringmaster, Clarissa from Overdrive, and who's the third one? I'm going to forget, and I apologize. Bad Kitty. I don't know her name. Bad Kitty. I forget her name. I apologize. But they will be fighting.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And then there's 2 other ones beyond that. And I'm actually looking at my whiteboard where I used to have all the robots hung up with their matches, and unfortunately they've all been taken down. It's the end of the season. My whiteboard is full of just ripped up double stick tape marks. But it's ready for season 3. So
yeah, I'm ready for season 3. You're that confident?
Absolutely. I think you never know, but I really hope we get it, and there's some exciting things we will do for season 3.
Yeah.
New types of robots that we will allow, and the registration system is up now. So if any of the listeners out there want to start working on their application for season 3, just go to registration.battlebots.com, and it'll say season 2 registration is closed. But if you keep reading, it'll talk about how we've left it open for prospective season 3 applicants to get all the paperwork started.
Awesome to hear from Greg, as always. And it sounds like everything's golden for season 3. You can get building, Al.
Yeah, all right, we're on it.
No time for this anymore. You've got to go. I'll do the rest of the show on my own.
All right.
So that's all good. All good stuff for the health of BattleBots. But shall we talk about this episode?
Sure.
Now, this was Season 2, episode 8, I guess. And it is Rise of the Machines, the round of 16, part 2. We've come back from the Olympic break. Were you missing BattleBots?
Yeah, I'm not a big Olympics guy either, and so I was actually watching the BattleBots reruns for the last 2 weeks anyway.
So you're up to date. You are like, if we had a pub quiz right now and there was a BattleBots round, you'd get every question.
I hope so.
Well, I kind of hope I would as well, actually. I don't know why I said that. When we come out there for season 3, we'll have a little pub quiz.
Sure, look forward to it.
We can have a Robot Wars round and a BattleBots round. That'd be genius. And you can do the 1995 San Francisco Robot Wars round.
I'll win that one.
So we've got this episode of BattleBots. You've been missing it. I've been missing it. And the first fight we see, Tombstone and Brutus. How did you see this one going?
Anytime Tombstone is involved, he's always a favorite.
Yeah.
But you never know. Brutus is a new bot. He could have got lucky. You never know. But, Ray's tough. He had the whole line of bars lined up waiting to see who he was going to fight, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was, I think, the first time he used that little short S7 bar that was just obviously devastating. One thing I did notice is that he had that, it was so low, and with the angle of his bot, too, it's very low to the ground, and you could see when it was hitting, it was almost acting like an undercutter.
Oh, yeah. And he called it that, right? He said it was an undercutter.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of that, and you really saw just getting under and lifting and just tearing things up right away.
Yeah, I mean, and Brutus, so they apparently took some battery packs out so that it could only go 2 minutes, but they whacked a bit more armor on.
Yeah, but I guess with Tombstone, if you're going to beat him, hopefully you're going to beat him in less than 2 minutes, and if he beats you, it's probably less than a minute.
Yeah, I guess go hard or go home.
Right.
But in this case, they ended up going home anyway. And I caught up with the Brutus boys. Shall we hear from them about this fight?
Sounds good.
Come on out, Brutus boys. Right, so I'm joined by Adam Bercu and Andrew Berkowitz of Team Brutus. How did it all come about? I'm going to ask Adam to answer this one.
How it came about, I guess we all kind of knew this was what we wanted as far as the overall team splitting up. I mean, we only banded together in the first place because we only had one spot in season 1.
Okay.
We weren't a team to begin with. We were a group of friends that were all individual builders that only had one, spot in BattleBots. So we all got together. Season 1, because they had such little time, was invitation only.
Oh, okay.
So we only got one invitation between all of us.
For season 2, you kind of got to choose your own team and make an application, right?
Right.
Yes.
So how did forming Team Brutus come about?
Well, it was just like, okay, I'm going to build a robot, need help. Andrew and I worked well together on Overhaul, and he was interested in keep working with me. And then the other team members, Esther and Joel and Garrett, were just kind of tagging along and still really, really helpful.
Who was mostly involved with the design of Brutus?
All the design credits can go to Adam. Adam sat down with SolidWorks and he made it happen. But my contributions are peering behind him, standing behind him, looking at the SolidWorks, being like, yeah, let's not make that a spiky bit. I know it'll look good for TV, but what if it gets trapped or pokes another robot and we're stuck? So that's it. That's all I did. Most of the work was Adam. I forget how many design iterations you went through with Brutus. It was like 4 or 5 at this point. There's so many different ideas we had for 2-wheel or 4-wheel or 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive.
So we'll call you a consultant on the build then, Andrew.
I'll take the credit that you give me.
Yeah, consultant. That. Whose idea were the guns?
So Brutus actually wasn't the original design. I wanted to kind of go with a fire and ice theme.
Okay.
And we weren't originally going to have projectiles at all. Flamethrowers have gotten pretty popular in BattleBots.
Yeah.
And I wanted to build kind of the counter flamethrower, and I wanted to build freeze cannons.
Okay.
First. So I had this design for basically shooting dry ice particles and liquid nitrogen spray, and the safety guys were not into it at all.
No, I thought they might not go for that.
Yeah, which was unfortunate because I was really excited about building like Mr. Freeze pseudo-themed BattleBot. Could have been really fun. The original design had big spike chain tires and was kind of all winter themed. But then that got nixed, so we had to kind of pull something else together. like why reinvent the wheel? I mean, I investigated so much into custom pneumatics and custom pneumatic cannons, and
Yeah.
everything I could design on my own. Like the paintball stuff was just better.
Hmm.
They had just perfected the small, light, reliable pneumatic cannon. The guns on Brutus were actually just modified to be remote controlled, but that's about it. Otherwise, fairly stock Tipman TIPX pistols.
Oh,
And
okay.
they noticed them on the show, and now we're in talks for potential sponsorship for next year too. So
That's pretty
the
cool.
guns could come back bigger and better.
Shall we talk about your fights?
Sure.
Whatever you like.
So your first one, you had Mobius, and this is where, like, how are you feeling before the fight, Andrew?
I mean, I was nervous, so we probably spun up like not to full speed, maybe 2 times, one with each weapon, I think. And I think we did a little testing in the box, obviously, beforehand, but everything was unknown. I mean, I knew that they're a very talented team. They have a very cool looking robot, and I was apprehensive because it was do or die. It's not Robot Wars. We don't know about that show. It's single elimination. So
Yeah.
I think at that time I was controlling the pulverizer. So I hope that Adam and drank his proper energy drink and he was ready to go.
I mean, the first fight couldn't have really gone better for you, though, could it, Adam?
No, I've had a lot of experience with this type of opponent.
Yeah.
I was one of the original builders and the driver of the first few versions of Witch Doctor. Back when I was in Miami, I was on the team with Mike and Paul, and at that time, like 2010, 2011, the full body spinner was kind of the dominant design in
Yeah.
the BattleBots IQ tournaments, and we designed Witch Doctor kind of be the to trump that design. It's perfectly suited for fighting full body spinners like that. So going in, I felt great, and I mean learned a lot of things even in that first fight. One, that Brutus's drivetrain is way overkill, and that the weapon system worked great. One thing I am really bummed about is how they totally just spilled the beans right away.
Yeah.
Talking about how they were just special effects bullets, and I really wanted people to wonder longer what they were.
It was pretty cool. It definitely had us guessing when we were watching it. A good test, though. Spin the old drum up and see what happens. So then you had Lockjaw. So this, I think, is like a masterclass in driving.
It's tough. I mean, Donald is driving. He's driving slow. He's
Yeah.
driving, with a point, and he has one thing in mind, right? Just like to stuff you with the plow.
Yeah.
And notice we switched to the disc for that fight because I was fully expecting Donald to come in with the spring flipper, and so we had actually stayed up for 30 hours beforehand getting Brutus ready to be able to self-right, and Brutus was self-righting beautifully in the test box over and over. With the bar, we can't. The big bar is about an inch thicker than the disc, so it's actually
Okay.
designed to take horizontal impacts. So like against like a fully working Mobius or even Tombstone is designed to take those hits well, and the bar worked beautifully in that sense. It hits much less hard, but you cannot self-right with the bar in my design. With Brutus with the disc, there's enough torque in the weapon system to just pop itself back over.
Yeah.
And so that was working great. Unfortunately, we never even got to do that in a fight because he was hiding the robot from us the whole day before, and added on the plow.
Yeah.
Incredibly frustrating. I couldn't get anything in. Without the rule changes, there's a good chance he might have won that fight because of my weapon motor going out.
Yeah.
He was definitely not going for the knockout, and when you don't go for the knockout, you have to, you're up to the mercy of the judges.
I think he'll probably have a rethink next season for what he can do against
I'm sure.
discs and drums and all that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he was getting nonstop between Yeti and me, and
Yeah.
I really wanted to tear off a wheel or something, and really made full contact. And that one thing that's pretty cool that Brutus was able to do during that fight is actually burn rubber.
Yeah.
We had rubber wheels opposed to many of the teams that have foam wheels, which gives you a huge advantage in traction. And Donald was also running 4 rubber wheels. I think he had some foam inside of them or something, but they were quite pliable, so he could get a lot of grip.
Okay.
And he would out traction me, and then because I had too much horsepower in the drive system, I would just literally spin my wheels and burn them up.
So you've got through these 2 fights. The second one a bit more difficult than the first one, fair to say. And then you're up
Yeah.
against Tombstone.
I knew the bracket beforehand, and it was right there.
Oh, okay.
And I knew it's it's one of the ultimate tests for a heavyweight robot. This is my first heavyweight robot,
Yeah.
So definitely, rookie heavyweight builder at least, and rookie robot. I knew there were going to be things to work out, but things had been going pretty well. We thought about a ton of modifications to make at the last minute, but after so many days of working on it, I just came to the conclusion, made kind of the executive decision that we're just going to roll with what we brought.
Yeah.
And let's just see what happens. Unfortunately, when we first got to the event, we were overweight and we had to cut a ton of weight.
Okay.
And a lot of that weight was in the front frame that attaches to the front armor.
Right.
So that came to bite us for sure when the front armor chunks got torn off.
Yeah.
But we could still hold our own weapon to weapon.
I think you should have trusted your driving more
we did.
and taken some off the back.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much in the back to begin with, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, I just take the whole panel off, man. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Andrew, when you saw these modifications that he made to Tombstone, how were you thinking, like, that's a pretty clever move? What did you think of it?
Sure, I mean, I don't know if there were that many modifications to Tombstone. I mean, Tombstone's Tombstone, no matter what.
Yeah, just that, kind of the stubby blade, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that really had too much of an effect. I mean, Tombstone's always Tombstone. It behaves in one known way, super high KE spinner, and we designed our robot knowing that we could be in any bracket, that we could go up against anybody. We could tweak our robot to make sure we could do well and be successful against anybody. So we weren't coming to be like, please no Tombstone, please no Tombstone. We were saying, hey, Tombstone would be fun.
Yeah.
And with a few things going differently, we could have taken it too. I mean, every robot fight is close. The only problem we had in the end were the magnets in the drive motors that I chose for Brutus and for all of the motors actually.
Yeah.
We had experimented with a new type of motor that wasn't really that common, which was great in many ways, but one untested way was shock load.
Okay.
And under shock, the magnets just disintegrated. And I think if we had gone with a more conventional motor that was more well known, that wouldn't have happened. Apart from that, all the design aspects went right. We took big hits from Tombstone over and over, and the weapon held up.
Was this? Why did you choose the motors, basically?
They're a great form factor.
Okay.
And they have really they're just so well overbuilt in their brush assembly. The way that they can shove electricity into themselves. That section of them is kind of the weak point in a lot of motors lately, because of the high power lithium batteries. And the brush assembly I was really impressed with on these particular motors.
Okay.
And they're just big, beefy, cheap, little tanks.
You've got to see this season as somewhat of a win for you guys.
Sure. I mean, we did something great where we're now a fairly well respected heavyweight team and the best robots in the world. I mean, that's a cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, going forward, what are your plans for Brutus?
I don't know. Andrew, what do you think?
I would say, so here, I mean, it's kind of hard because you don't see a lot of the fun behind the scenes, and I say fun in a very sarcastic sense. So we did a lot of design work in CAD, and we made some assumptions. We were smart. We laser cut and built a plywood model, and the plywood model is very pliable. We're like, oh, this comes out, this goes in, this is easy, it's a quick job to take out the whole drive assembly. And then, of course, when we get to putting things in the real welded together frame, it's like, oh, so that doesn't work. Let's take out the oxyacetylene torch. How much can we remove safely that we can get the drivetrain in and out comfortably and easily, but still have the structural rigidity and support that we wanted? So hopefully next season we'll have a bigger focus on maintainability and fixability, because behind the scenes that caused us to be frantic. I think we got to the point where it took an hour or two per side, worst case, and that was just painful.
Okay, so it's basically the downtime between fights. You need to streamline your processes, I guess, for getting the bot ready for the next fight.
Yeah, make some tweaks to the CAD so it could be a little easier. Other things too, we way over-engineered some parts. We're like, oh yeah, we need super, super thick AR here. And it turns out we didn't. It turns out that's why we were at BattleBots weighing in at 272 pounds with an oxyacetylene torch, swearing our mouths off, being oh, I thought we weighed all the individual parts. Is the scale off? Is there something wrong with the scale? Does it not like BattleBots contestants?
The main thing is to start earlier and do it build in a relaxed way and have plenty of time. That's really what makes a winning robot. I think a lot of thought and effort putting in and a lot more testing. Like literally driving the robot into a concrete wall 100 times.
The season 1 robots look a lot more developed in season 2, and I guess your season 2 robot would look a lot more developed in season 3. Just cracks kind of ironed out a bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Every event you learn a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's been good talking to you. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Andrew and Adam. Would you like to thank your sponsors?
I would love to thank sponsors. Yes, we have amazing sponsors.
Okay, go on.
The most amazing sponsor we have is SolidWorks. SolidWorks is a great sponsor.
Okay.
I've been using their software for over half of my life, and it's good stuff.
Awesome. Next sponsor.
Another sponsor is Equal Zero Robotics, maker of the Rage Bridge, sponsor of a few robots. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you.
Cool.
And that's it.
Cool. Cheers, dudes. So they seem to think it went quite well, Al.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it took more than one hit. They took several big hits from Tombstone before they were knocked out. So that does say something.
I mean, you wonder what it's going to take out Tombstone.
Yeah, I don't know. We talk about that amongst ourselves every time we see him fight, and it's just he hits so hard.
He changed it up with that blade, and that is a genius move, I think. The Brutus boys kind of shrugged it off, but I think it's a genius move.
Right. I mean, it spun up so fast. It was so it's so dense, so strong. It's going to be very hard to defend against something like that.
Do you think maybe some great driving could be the undoing of Tombstone?
Maybe, but he sits there and pivots, and he's good at that. He doesn't have to do a lot to keep the weapon on you. It's very tough. I think whoever does take him out eventually, you're going to have to be able to take a hit or two to do it. Because if you can get past the weapon and negate the weapon, you might be able to take him out, but that's a tall order.
Or even, if you can take that one hit to unsettle him and then get back on your feet quicker.
Right.
And get around him, get to a tire, get to the back, then you're in with a chance, surely.
Yeah, like I said, it's just, I mean, Paul did it last year, so.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we know it's not impossible, but he's come back kind of so focused on the win, and so, he's added little bits to his arsenal that were maybe missing before.
Right.
It's great to have a robot like Tombstone to keep everyone else honest, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much at its apex. And just like I said, he had that row of bars, and that just kind of hits you like, wow, look at this. He's got different bars to choose from, and they each are for a different reason. And it's not as simple a bot as people think.
No.
It's actually, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of strategy, and I think that last match showed it perfectly. Just the choice of that bar, and it was obviously the perfect choice for that match. I mean, he didn't even get touched.
No. He's well ready for the next round.
Right.
So then we get on to the next match. Nightmare against Beta.
Yeah, I love both these robots. Nightmare's just got the big, obnoxious, here it is, weapon blade. And it's just, kudos for Jim for always just, bringing it. And, Beta, of course I love Beta because it's a hammer. and it's one of the best hammers I've ever seen, and he's John's really got it working great this time out, and he's doing well.
I love it because it's a hammer.
Well, of course, I love all hammer bots until I have to fight them.
Yeah, what happens if you get a hammer v hammer? We haven't seen that yet, have we?
I don't think so. We were thinking maybe this time we would. We had what, about 3 of us out there.
Yeah.
Well, 4 if you count Bombshell's axe pod.
I mean, God knows what Bombshell is, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You will probably think you're facing an axe, and then, like a vertical spinner comes up.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest things in the pits. They would sit there, and Mike would have them work on every pod. So if you came over and looked, you couldn't tell which pod they were prepping because they were working on every one, and it was pretty hysterical.
That's pretty cheeky.
Yeah.
How long does it take them to prepare, like smack the module in between the wheels and get cracking?
That I honestly don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they were close to our pit area, but we were so busy with our own stuff that I never watched it. I never thought to ask him that.
Because I would have thought, if you can do it in like 5 minutes, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, I think it was pretty quick. He had like an engine hoist there. So, basically the way it worked, I think he could just lower whichever pod he wanted to in place and bolt it on. I think. I'm not, like I said, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So this fight, super, super cautious driving from both of them because they're so scared of each other.
Yeah, I think that was, in the beginning, it was a good 15, 20 seconds maybe of him driving around trying to get an opening. And one of the things you notice Nightmare with that huge disc, you could see the gyro forces and his wheels would lift up.
Yeah.
Beta would try to get around him, and just in time, Nightmare would turn just enough, and Beta just can't turn quite quick enough in most cases. And then he finally got around to the side and was able to get in, and he got caught a couple times too. Nightmare got a couple good hits on him.
Oh yeah, that massive hit where he got flung across the arena was immense. I think that broke his hammer, didn't it? That hit. In some way.
I saw he took at least one hit, like right to the hammer assembly. I'm surprised, the whole thing didn't come off, but it held in there.
But it didn't look well though. It didn't look like it was fully functioning.
No, yeah. At some point, it definitely there were some spots where they probably were going to take some hits, and the hammer definitely at one point the camera showed him, and he said they lost the hammer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened there, but obviously the hammer stopped at that point. And
if I asked you to hazard a guess at what happened there,
I don't know. It seemed because they got that one hit, and it did tweak the arm a little when they landed the blow kind of up on the frame between the disc. Maybe something jammed mechanically, or when maybe something jammed and it overloaded the custom controller. I'm not really sure because I mean it wasn't like it blew up completely mechanically. It just stopped working.
It was just kind of limping, wasn't it? Because it was actually he'd try and do a hammer hit, and then it was very slow.
Yeah, maybe it was something electrical. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'd have to ask him.
Yeah. So, John, if you're listening, get in touch insidethebot@gmail.com or find us on Facebook, and we'll talk to you. So it was. He couldn't get around the sides. He couldn't land that hit until he did land that one hit right on the top, and seemed to he's kind of has he stopped his disc really, or was it still going? I can't.
It was still going.
Took a big hit though.
It was a good hit, and you get the impression if he was able to recock it and keep hitting that it might have maybe hit into the chain or the belt. I'm not even sure what Nightmare uses, or the motor, because the motor was pretty close to that too. But obviously something was gone at that point, so he wasn't able to really capitalize on that as far as the hammer goes.
I don't even think it wasn't even a full powered hit, was it? It was just the weight of the hammerhead, I think, coming down more than anything.
Yeah, it was definitely not the usual brutal swing that Beta has, but so maybe something was starting to give way before that.
Fortunately for Beta, Nightmare got a bit ragged towards the end, and he managed to get into its side, and then he pushed him along. Got him upside down. Yeah,
and that was it. And as Jim had said before the match, his self-righting mechanism had been damaged in the previous fight with Ice Wave, so he wasn't able to self-right, and that was, that was pretty much it.
I would say Beta very much lucky to go through.
I mean, it was a legitimate win, but he could have easily lost that if Jim was able to come around and land some more blows. I think if that match goes to the judges, it probably goes the other way. Got a pretty tough match next round.
Yeah, so it's him and Tombstone, is it, next round?
Tombstone, yep.
Oh, yeah. That'll be a tough one, though.
That was one of the many matches that I missed at the event.
I mean, you'd think if anyone's going to take it to him, and if we think back to Robot Wars, we've seen something very similar to this, haven't we? We've seen Terahertz and Carbide.
Right. I mean, they do have a very strong armor belt. That wedge is at its pretty high angle, so it should be able to deflect pretty well. But
John's a great driver.
Yeah, and Beta handles fairly well, so he might be able to keep Ray off enough. But if Tombstone's blade if it happens to ride up high enough, it's only going to take one shot to that hammer assembly.
It could get very messy.
It can get ugly real quick.
We'll have to look out for that one. So then we have match 3, which is Megatento and Yeti. What do you make of these bots, Al?
I really like Yeti. It's it's a big drum, and they did in fact start out as an alternate, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's
They,
awesome.
they showed up there. I was actually one day I ended up in the shuttle bus with one of them. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. It wasn't Greg. It was the other gentleman.
Okay.
And we were just kind of talking about it. Really nice guys.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they showed up as alternates. Had no idea they were even going to be in the tournament, and they're in the quarterfinals. So that's a great story.
So what do you think of Mega Tento?
Um, Mega Tenmushi is always cool.
Yeah.
Lisa's great. She's cool. She's a very good driver, and that's actually it's a very well built bot. Yeti got under it instantly and took a wheel out very
Yeah.
quickly, and that just, as I said, that got ugly in a hurry, and that's the problem with Coulsons. If you leave them exposed, they're very. Once you get the heavyweights, they're not going to take much of a hit. They're going to shatter. So.
Now, a lot like with Blacksmith, I feel like what's gone wrong for Mega Tento is that it hasn't been able to eat its prey anymore. And we have to acknowledge that a bot's power comes from its special abilities like that.
It's special move.
Exactly. You've got the flame, she's got the eating another robot. And I think just don't worry about what the judges are going to see. Put the drum on the inside and eat your opponent.
Right. I think that was the concern after the first match, where the drum was actually doing damage.
Yep.
While the opponent was, it's escaping me what her first match was.
Was it Poison? It was Poison Arrow, wasn't it? Yeah, Poison Arrow, and then they didn't.
Okay, so they were under there, and that Poison Arrow is a very small bot, so she was able to actually capture it under there, and was doing some damage, but it was hard to see. Now, it's an entertaining bot, it's a character, and people love it.
I love it. I mean, so normally I'm quite a cynic with this sort of thing. Well, I was at the start of this season. I was, I didn't like creepy crawlies, and I was all, I don't know what was wrong with me, Al, but I've changed. I love the weird bots now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just different philosophies, and people go to these events for different reasons, and like you said, even with Blacksmith, it's like, oh, we wouldn't show up next to season 3 with a different bot. It's like you got to bring back your character, and
Yeah.
Tenmushi is a legend from the old days, from the original BattleBots season. So it's just kind of carrying through with that, and it's all part of the draw of the TV show. I think she'll be back for sure.
Yeah. So then that brings us to the final match of the show. And I think my favourite, because it's got Chomp against the reigning champion, Bite Force. If I'd asked you before the fight to tell me who was going to win, Al, who would you have said?
I probably would have said Bite Force.
Do you think Chomp's been underestimated?
Definitely. I guess maybe people are remembering last season it didn't do very well, but
Yeah.
I do think it's a very different and a very improved machine this season, and it surprised a lot of people. This was actually one of the few fights that I did get to see in the pits, and there was a lot of anticipation for this fight. Everybody stopped what they were doing. We all went to the TV, and we all were just ready for this match. And right out of the gate, that first shot hit that chain, and the whole pit just erupted, and everyone was just going crazy because that was like a 1 in a million shot, and it was just perfect.
Shall we hear from Zoe about Chomp, her journey with Chomp from season 1 to season 2, and how she thought her fights this season went, and especially this fight?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm joined by Zoe from Chomp. Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
An exciting evening yesterday.
Yes, it was.
Has it all calmed down, all the social media stuff, all the congratulations?
No, I kind of stayed up late, and I'm, to be frank, just waking up, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. So where did it all begin? Your robot history.
It's not very long, to be honest. So I got into engineering kind of late. I got into engineering in the end of college. I'm actually a chemistry major in college.
Okay.
And I had this internship doing sort of material science, which is between chemistry and mechanical engineering. And I suddenly realized, like, wow, like, why am I not doing engineering? I really like this. And I sort of worked hard to get myself turned around and do that. And then at my first job, a bunch of my coworkers were old BattleBots builders. And a couple years into that, there were these sort of like rumors and whispers that BattleBots was going to come back, and BattleBots was sort of putting out feelers to a bunch of these people saying like, hey, we need people who we know are going to build a good bot. Like, will you submit something?
Okay.
And a lot of those people were, busy and had kids and like lives and kind of were like, I'm not interested in staying up till 3 a.m. and like emptying my bank account.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like I got nothing better to do. So I never actually built a fighting robot before BattleBots season 1, but I entered a submission for season 1, just kind of like cold called and said like, hey, I think you should take me. Here's my really cool application. And they accepted it. And then the rest is history.
That's cool. So who was involved in the designing of the first Chomp? And how did that process come about? What happened?
So I did the majority of the design for Chomp 1, and I got a lot of help with it from a teammate of mine, Yasha Little, who was at that time really pulled on to another robotics project that he works on. But he is a BattleBots veteran. He built the Judge and some other hammering robots in the past.
Okay.
And so I'd say like, hey, like, what do you think of this? Or like, would you help me out with this? Or like, how did you hold onto the armor? And sort of go to him with these questions of like, what do people actually do when they need help? And I also got a lot of help and advice from, like Pete Abrahamson and Luke Conley and some of these other people who've done BattleBots in the past.
Yeah.
But the mechanical design was mostly me, and then also Yasha Little. And then the fabrication was a lot me, some Yasha Little, and then some my teammate Joe Baum, and some Aaron Cooper, Travis Smith, and then a whole bunch of other really cool people who helped out.
Awesome. So you get there, you had a couple of fights.
Yeah, it was Chomp 1 didn't do that great. Yeah, so Chomp 1 lost both fights, which was sad, but it's cool to be there, and it's neat to like meet all the people at BattleBots because they really are like super nice.
Yeah, and people you've seen on TV is like for years, you finally get to meet them as well.
Yeah.
So, did you learn a lot of lessons from season 1?
Oh yeah, I mean, part of it was like, actually a lot of it was like, take what the TV people say with a grain of salt. Because when I first heard about BattleBots, it was like, it's going to be, we're only going to accept new robots, like we're not going to accept any old designs, and we're not going to have any big spinners, and we're going to have like this uneven floor with like hills and stuff, so you won't be able to have a robot that like skims the floor with a really low skirt. Everyone's going to have ground clearance. So that'll be great, like I'll try this Crusher. Which like A, I didn't know very much about. And B, works better. You're going up against people with good ground clearance. And C, frankly, works better if you have somebody who is a really good driver, which like I know that I'm just not. I'm not up there with anybody who's been doing this for years. There's no way that I'm going to like pick up 15 years experience.
Yeah, it's still experience.
Yeah. And then a lot of it was also just like make your bot littler, Don't spend so much volume on making something that's really drivable, because I think Chomp 1 was actually easier to drive. It's better to have something that's less drivable and better armored. Like,
oh, I don't know that. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean,
it's better for me to have something that's less drivable and better armored.
Okay. I suppose because you lean less on your driving ability.
Mm-hmm. And we'd like to have driven more. In this season, I actually was driving a lot less than I expected to be because we spend so much time like flipping all around. The thing, if there's like one thing that I'd like to change, it's making the self-riding autonomous.
Okay.
A computer is probably better able to tell like what's the right thing to do with the hammer in order to get up from the position that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
A human kind of tries a bunch of stuff and then eventually figures out the thing that works.
You flail around until you're back looks the right way up.
It was like Magikarp, which I think is pretty accurate.
Yeah, you had the couple of hard-hitting spinners in season 1, I'd say, in your fights. Did that kind of influence your design for season 2?
Oh, totally. I mean, in season 1, I think so crushers are A, slow, but then B, they're heavy.
Yeah.
Because they have to be able to because when you're applying a whole lot of force to something, you have to be able to not fail under that force yourself, right? Like you don't want to fail your own jaw, you want to fail the other robot. So the weapon of season 1 Chomp, like I think of the jaws alone, not counting any of the like drive mechanism for the weapon, were like 60 pounds. So that's just a whole bunch of your weight right there. That's gone. So Chomp 1 without armor was already at like 220. So he had like 30 pounds of armor.
Yeah.
Which was a joke against like Ice Wave, right? So Chomp 2, it's something like 85 pounds of armor, which helps a whole lot.
Yeah.
And you can see that there aren't many corners to catch on Chomp's AR-500 skirt.
Yeah.
So those rounded corners are really nice. There's not much purchase to grab there.
You kind of built up a lot more bulk around the bottom, I'd say, of Chomp, right?
Yeah. So I went through and I looked at all the pictures of BattleBots competitors that I could find to see where the weapons hit. And so, some of the only ones that are really hard to tell are like Nightmare, like depending on the slope of the front of your...
I think you'd have trouble against Nightmare.
I don't know. That would be an entertaining fight. That's for sure.
I think it would look like season 1 Chomp by the end of it. I'd fear for you against Nightmare, I think.
That'd be a really interesting fight, yeah. There are a lot of robots that I would love to fight. Some of the thought into Chomp 1 was definitely, Chomp 2 was not having reach with your weapon.
Oh, yeah.
Is difficult. So an advantage that a lot of the big bar spinners have is they can get you before they're threatened at all.
Yeah.
And Chomp doesn't have quite that advantage because, of course, there's only a single point where you're in danger, not like an entire plane. But we could maybe reach over the blade of an Ice Wave or something and hit him on that engine. Or
yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe next season. You've got your reach. You've got your autonomous weapon. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So actually, we'd wanted to have some sort of so I know that I'm like going into the context is I know that I'm going into BattleBots against people who've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And who are really, really good at it and who've optimized and like figured out how to make a really deadly machine.
Yeah.
And a lot of those sort of have this additional advantage in being spinners, especially these big spinners where basically they need to drive well, but they don't need to drive as well in order to sort of aim like anywhere along the perimeter of that thing or for a large arc of the perimeter of that thing. If they get near you, they're sort of automatically going to hit you.
I mean, if you got a full body spinner, you don't have to drive well at all. Just wait for them to hit you.
Right. So you're going up against these people who are really good drivers. So if you look at like Donald Hudson, or Matt Maxim of Lockjaw or Stinger, they've just been doing it for a long time and they have all this experience and they're just really good because they've practiced.
Yeah.
Or you have these teams that maybe they don't need to drive so well to hit you because of the nature of their weapon. And I wanted to make I didn't want to make a weapon like that. I wanted to make a weapon that you had to aim and you had to sort of like drive well. I think those are more interesting. I think spinners have been done. And I see why they are done. Like I see why if you want to win, you make a spinner because it's so effective. There's just like, you're never going to compare to the amount of energy that you get in a spinner with any other weapon. But I like the weapons that aren't that way. So I wanted some kind of autonomy in ideally weapons firing and driving, although driving is harder. Because I'm starting at this like low point compared to everybody else who's really, really good. He's been doing this sport for a long time. So Chomp 1, we sort of tried to get that together, but we were trying to get the whole robot together, and we just didn't quite work out. I think I like melted the LiDAR with the flamethrower, and then after that we were just like, this is too hard. We got to be shipped in 2 weeks. Like, forget it.
Yeah.
But then so in season 2, we looked more into sensors and different LiDARs, and we found this one from LiDAR who are a sponsor of ours, and it's a great sensor. It's all solid state, which is fabulous if you're going to be like bouncing around in the BattleBots.
Yeah, definitely.
And it uses infrared LEDs, sort of pulsed LEDs, and then it looks for the return in this sort of fan out the front of the device. And so my two wonderful, wonderful software teammates, Aaron Cooper and Joe Baum, started to experiment with this, and we had a little test platform. It was actually one of the machine lab from Zach from Razorback's old robots we happened to have. That we put the sensor on, and we did a bunch of testing and writing of software, and got auto chomp working, which is automatic camera firing when there's something in front of you,
Cool.
and even auto targeting, which is the sensor helps me steer the robot towards the thing that looks most like an opponent, or that is most likely to be an opponent.
Okay.
And that's been super cool and super great. And I would love to expand that.
How do you deal with the advantage of being a human is being able to anticipate things, right? Whereas if you're a computer, you're reacting to the situation you're in.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to say, for now, like, I'm really impressed with the auto targeting as it is. Yeah. It's a bunch to get done in like a couple of months.
Yeah.
B, we do have some sort of proportional element to the control of the auto targeting, and also predictive nature a little bit to the hammer firing.
Okay.
That said, at least for me as a driver or a weapon operator, you give me a lot of credit to assume that I'm going to be like with it and like figuring out what their tactical brain is doing, like as fast as they're doing it. So I think humans freak out when they're driving in a BattleBots match, and you see it, right? Like if you ever see any of the drivers on screen, you'll see like the joystick, and it's always like slammed. There's like no finesse. But I do think that like the adrenaline gets going, and people, not that like people are like total idiots, but that you're not in your most like calm tactical state.
No.
When you're driving. The other thing is that a hammer fires really fast. So.
Oh, okay.
That's not to say it'll never miss, but it's not as if you've got to like fire it 5 seconds before you need it to show up on the other end. You're, a fraction of a second, just is not that much time.
Do you know how long it takes?
My guess is it's more like a fifth of a second based on the pushes that we're actually running at.
I mean, it is quite a long time.
In my experience, it's better than a human.
Yeah.
Humans aren't actually that good. Everyone's like, oh, hammers are like so ineffective. And like part of that is because it's really hard to realize, A, when something is the right distance in front of you.
Yeah.
B, to know that it's not offset at all. So that you have this problem of like two things that are a little bit out of plane, and it's actually like 3 feet behind you, but your depth perception is poor. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell, and you're sort of crossing like ships.
Yeah.
And also just to react at the right time. Like there's all these sort of heartbreaking moments. If you watch like certain Bronco matches, you'll see like they're underneath their opponent, like they could have flipped them. Like why didn't you flip right then? Come on, Bronco.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking when you see a gas flipper, and then they get those moments at the end of a match when they've run out of gas.
Yeah, I don't know if Bronco does run out of gas. I think I don't know how many flips they've got.
I think Bronco is indestructible. And it just
It
runs on the power of the crowd rather than gas. It's a magical robot. So the autonomous weapon,
right?
It's really cool. But am I right in thinking you can also have a semi-autonomous mode where it kind of tells you when to press the button?
I don't think that humans would react fast enough to that.
Oh, okay. So I thought you had that. Sorry, I thought.
Oh no, I mean. So what we have when we're up there is we have a driver who's me, and we have a weapons operator who this season is Yasha Little.
Okay.
Last season it was Joe Baum. And then we have somebody with a laptop. So that's one of our software people, either Aaron Cooper or Joe Baum. Mm-hmm. And the laptop people are sort of looking at the returns from the LiDAR and seeing that it like hasn't gone crazy. Because one of the risks, right, is that something happens to that LiDAR, or I don't know, it gets spoofed in some way or damaged in some way that it's giving crazy returns that don't reflect the real world. And then if you're trying to use an automatic mode and it's not reflecting the real world, like you're doing something crazy. So someone's looking at that and sort of saying like, okay, this is still sane. Like, feel free to use automatic mode whenever you feel like it. The hammer operator can, at any time that they want, trigger a manual hammer fire.
Okay.
And the driver at any time that they want can drive on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those things have happened in our matches. But I think that for the software person to say like, hey, like you should fire now, and then the hammer operator to like be like, okay, I'm now gonna fire. Like the amount of time that is in that,
mm-hmm.
I think that you'd be more successful just having the hammer operator be like, I'm firing because I like when it's we're not that coordinated, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I guess what I would, in my head, it would have been like a light lighting up that would say you're in the right zone to fire the hammer.
Oh yeah. Well, when we're in the right zone to fire, I mean, so most of the time, when Chomp is like upright and aimed in like roughly the right direction, I am in auto targeting mode, and Yasha is in auto hammer mode. So the little light that lights up that says like you should probably fire now is just the hammer that just hammers on its own. But
well, I guess that's better than having a light, really.
I mean, you're good.
Yeah.
We would like to have some indication of when we're in sort of auto drive. So we may like add some LEDs or something next year.
That's cool. So your first one this season was Disco Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
It was a close one.
Mm-hmm.
Active weapon damage though.
Of course, it was like one of these first close fights that did come down to a judge's decision.
Yeah, it's people adjusting to the weapon damage, isn't it?
Right, people adjusting to the weapon damage. And then I think people also sort of see like, oh, like the bot's on its side, like the flipper is so effective. And it's not to say that it's not an effective thing. Everyone's bots are wonderful. I don't want to like hate on anyone's bots. I do think that Chomp on her own obviously flips herself over.
Yeah.
So the extent to which you like give that credit to a really effective flipper, I think has to be modulated for the fact that that's just the nature of Chomp.
Yeah, definitely.
When they posted the full fight, a lot of people were sort of saying like, actually, like when I watch this again, I see how many times Chomp hit. Like that totally makes sense. That you know.
Yeah, but I think by that time people had also adjusted to the active weapon thing.
That too, yeah.
And then you had Captain Shredderator, which.
What do you guys over there think of Captain Shredderator and Brian Way?
It embodies everything we hate about America. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm not going to say anything bad about it.
Interview Brian because he's fun to argue with.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm scared of him.
He's very fun in person and sort of. He may not agree with you, but you'll have, I think, a great discussion.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we get out there for season 3. The fight. Let me think back to the fight. Oh yeah, you kept turning it off, on and off again. Right. Is that actually what was happening?
Oh yeah. So if the story about the on and off. If it were the case that my mother were in the audience and had taken some video, which of course she didn't because that would be against the agreement that she signed.
Yeah, she would have been destroyed.
But it might have, if that had been the case, it might have been that there were a lot of audience members on all sides of her, like chanting, like on.
Nice.
Which I didn't know at the time, which is great. Yeah, so the hammer went through. I don't know if it actually punctured the Lexan or it just deformed the Lexan so far down and it's flexible. But it went down into the body of the robot, and the whole robot spins, right? Yep. So there was a power wire, evidently, that sort of ran along the bottom of the robot or along some part of that chassis, and so the hammer went down below that wire, and then the whole body is spinning, and so it dragged the hammer tip went into the side of the wire and dragged the wire out of its crimp.
Okay.
So the subsequent hits would sort of jiggle the wire in that crimp, and sometimes it would make contact and it would sort of start to spin, and then we'd hit it again and it would turn off.
That's really cool. A lot of people will armor up next season, I think.
Oh yeah.
So then we had some underdogs called Bite Force were your next guys. I mean,
yeah.
Who knows who those guys are?
Right. No, their news is very scary. I don't know if you saw the pictures on like Facebook of what it did to Ringmaster's.
Oh yeah, it just completely
External
buckled
gear.
it, right?
Yeah,
That's a big bill for them.
it's all machined out of magnesium.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and then like the sad thing, right, of being all like one piece. I think if they bent, I'm not sure exactly all which parts they bent, but the sad thing of like being one piece is like if something happens to it, right, like
Yeah. Do you think they'll turn it back over and then fight them again and hope it bends it back?
I don't know. I don't know if they would have done that.
Kind of like
Maybe next
a
season. We'll see.
low-tech solution.
Yeah.
Could work. So you went up against Bite Force.
Hmm.
I can't remember. Did you make any changes to Chomp for the fight?
Not really. I mean, when what we fixed the flamethrower
Yeah.
because we were having issues with like
Oh
air.
yeah, that was
air.
big time improvement on the flamethrower this fight.
Yeah, we were having so in the previous fights you see sometimes Chomp is just spraying out propane that's not lit,
Hmm.
and I think that a lot of that had to do with like poor shock mounting, leading to the igniter getting broken just to when Chomp hits like the whole body of the robot vibrates a bunch. That just broke the igniter, and then also the way that we had it housed because the lidar sensor is right on top of it, so we're really afraid of flame spewing up into that and screwing with that. So we really kind of choked off the air path.
Okay.
So we modified the way that we were holding onto that so that the igniter would survive and so that some air could get in to light the propane.
Cool. So no massive improvements. They whacked on a big plate on top.
There's not that many modifications to make.
Yeah.
It's not like you're a really modular bot.
How did you feel before the fight? About your chances?
I actually felt better with Bite Force, I think, than Shredderator, which isn't to say that. I mean, like it's a game of matchups, right? So it's not to say that like overall, Shredderator or Bite Force are going to be more successful against every robot, but with Bite Force, I sort of thought it was going to be they would want it to be sort of a control and pushing match. And seeing their fight against Mohawk has a similarly slanted sort of like back armor, and you see them make marks on that armor, but like nothing really goes through there. So I sort of saw that as like, you know what, like our slant is similar, and I thought that Chomp's armor would kind of be okay. It could have been a really different story if Chomp got on our side and they went after the bottom.
So the fight started, and you guys pretty much won it straight away.
Blammo, yeah, that was really, really cool. I didn't actually realize that until after the fight. Tunnel vision on, like, get aimed, get in the right spot, like, keep your distance, don't, that I didn't. And I think that my teammate had yelled it. He was like, fuck, we broke their chain. He was, like, yelling it, just screaming it, and I just, like, didn't hear him.
I mean, you got some nice hits on him as well.
It's cool to see it, because you kind of forget exactly what happened.
Oh, and Chomp was, of course, very fiery in this fight.
Very fiery.
You had that point where you made that hit on them, and then you just lit them up.
Yeah.
And then I wish you would have stayed like that for a bit longer before firing the hammer again.
I saw it. I was like, Zoe, what are you doing?
Oh, well.
Don't do that. Oh, well.
Yeah, it would have been really nice. It would have been kind of like a complete control moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is why like sports are fun, right? Because like you can always be like, you can like watch the gymnast and you're like, oh, you got to stick that landing. What are you doing? Like, don't fall off the balance beam or whatever it is.
Yeah. I make a podcast about it every week of me going, you idiot, you can't build a robot.
Right. What the fuck are you doing? You don't know how to use a flamethrower, damn it. Oh yeah, so there's a point in the match where you can't hear it, of course. But there's this sort of like semi-rule or guideline that you wouldn't know about unless you built a robot. That you're not supposed to use flames within a certain distance of the walls.
Oh yeah, I did know this.
I think that Yasha, who's the weapons operator, had
the refs tell you to get away from it, right?
Yeah, they're like, turn off your flame. They start to like yell at you about the flame. I think Yasha just had the flamethrower like stuck on. The refs were like yelling at him about the flame. He was like, okay, I'm like gonna try and do it. I'm like, Yasha, I need you to self-right. Like, ignore the ref. Stop worrying about the flame. It's gonna be okay. So there's like a minute in there where we're like not self-righting, and I'm like, Yasha, cut it out.
Oh, was this when you were not when you were on your top, like on the front?
I forget exactly when it was. I can't map my memory of the fight happening to the actual fight very well.
Mhm.
I know that it was like, it's gonna be okay. Ignore the ref.
Yeah, I mean, and it was okay.
Yeah, it was
Everything
awesome.
worked out for the best.
It's true. I mean, we disabled their weapon in one hit. Like, what more do
Yeah.
you want? So
So what's on the horizon for Chomp?
we're thinking about a bunch of stuff. I mean, the most obvious one is a hold down system that works. So Chomp has turned out to be this very acrobatic robot, but that's all unintentional. I mean, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's almost a shame to lose it. I think that one of the reasons that Chomp has been so popular, like I didn't expect people in the crowd to like really be into Chomp, but they were, which is really neat. I think that a lot of that is just because Chomp is unpredictable, like flailing around and doing backflips.
Yeah.
And the goal was that we would hold Chomp to the floor with 2 sets of magnets,
Yeah.
electromagnets, that at the voltage we were running at should have applied like 2,000 pounds of force. But that just like didn't work at all on the BattleBots floor. It turned out I'd written to them and said like, hey, what's the floor going to be like? And they said it's going to be 3/8 steel, mild steel. And I thought, sweet, great. And it turned out that it's 3 separate pieces of 1/8 inch that sort of, for some reason, have kind of like an air gap between them. They sort of sag or something. And then there's also this very thick, sort of like rubber stuff on top of it. It's paint, but it's like truck bed liner or something. It's rubber and thick.
Okay.
And that's sort of just acting as an air gap. So we got permission to try the magnets in the BattleBox. We just like carried Chomp in and turned the magnets on. And when you try it on a piece of 1/4 inch steel, not even 3/8, just like 1/4 inch, 2 dudes like lifting as hard as they can, just can't budge it. But on the BattleBox floor, like a child could pick the force of the magnets up. So
Okay, I thought you were going to say Chomp up then. I thought it gets lighter if you use the magnets. You've done something very wrong if that happens.
well, picking like the front of Chomp up like a little bit, an inch isn't that hard.
Okay. So does that mean you're going to completely give up on the magnets and try to look for another solution, or?
No, I don't know that much about magnets right now, but I would like to learn more about magnets. I know that there are tricky, fancy, different configurations of magnets that you can make that spread the field out in different ways. The magnets that we had, I think, depend a lot on really being right next to steel.
Yep.
And you can make configurations that spread the field out a little bit sort of deeper and then also further. So we may do that. We've also thought about doing some sort of like a vacuum system, although I think that would be really hard.
That'd be crazy. So do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I have the best sponsors. So my company that I work for, Applied Invention, is a great sponsor of mine. LEDAR Tech in Canada make the sensor that I use, the little LiDAR. They're fabulous.
Yep.
X Machines, which is my company that makes robots and hopefully other things someday. Cool. And Thunder Power RC, which makes our batteries.
Oh, you got a lot of sponsors.
So much. Yeah. Woo, sponsors.
Cool.
Anyways, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me, Zoe, and all the best.
Nice chatting with you.
Yeah, cheers.
Bye-bye.
So she's had a long journey, and she's still in the show. And we've done the show now, Al. Record time. Oh, questions. We normally have some questions. So we've got a question here.
Okay.
From Michael E. And we talk a lot about magic, smoke, and speed controllers on the show. But he wanted to know, could we explain better why things keep blowing up? ESCs, things are just doing test runs. For example, Helichopper. I mean, that's just doing a test run and something blows up. Why do ESCs blow up?
That's an excellent question.
And normally I think the builder asks himself that question afterwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things with spinners, and certainly with Helichopper, when you get to a heavyweight, it's not something that you can safely test anywhere.
Yeah.
Other than in the arena. So you may not know exactly if you're overloading. I mean, smart people will tell me that you can math everything out and know exactly what it's doing, but I guess sometimes that doesn't translate to the real world. What we're doing is just, we're not using these items the way they were designed to be used. So they're designed for planes and cars and such, not for giant things that are beating the crap out of each other. So I think that's a lot of it, and I think it's just generally going way past the specs of what the electronic devices can handle.
Current going through it.
Current, the development of heat. In our case with the hammer was just the repeated very high amps with the repeated swings just caused the motor to heat up. It was physically the heat is what eventually made it fail and catch fire. It wasn't so much the current blowing things up, but that's what happens. Just the current up. And I mean, I'm really not an electronics expert. I'm more of a mechanical guy, so I'm not the best person to answer this question.
But, you know, it's a general idea of the sort of thing that could... That's a good one, actually. That the repeated use, putting high current through it, just that repeatedly, and not giving it a chance to kind of, you know, dissipate the heat that's building up.
Right. A lot of it is heat, so sometimes if you put fans on, you'll notice speed controllers will have a higher rating with a fan, or if you could heat sink it better, you can flow more current through it longer. But yeah, I'm not really... You want to call Charles up to answer these questions.
It's the kind of thing, I mean, you have to think, a combat robot, so the batteries in that, you're discharging them in 3 minutes.
Right.
It is insane that you just get that much power out. Like, you charge them for what?
The lipos?
Yeah, to fill them up? I don't really know.
Depending on how fast you can charge them and what kind of charger you got, you could do them in about an hour. If you have a lipo pack that's capable of taking, I forget the term. I'm an old school guy myself. This was really one of the first times that I actually dealt with the lipo batteries, because I'm a NiCad guy, A123s I really like too. But yeah, it depends on the quality of the battery too, because if you try to charge them too fast or discharge them too fast, which is often the case in what we do, if the internal resistance of the packs is bad, that's when the packs blow up. You don't necessarily need to physically damage them. If you try to pull too much current, and that's one of the reasons we had 5 packs in parallel, so we could split the current up, so each pack didn't have to source as much current. But that's what makes batteries go, just either charging them faster or discharging them faster than they're just capable of handling. They heat up, and eventually, and when lipos go, they go.
But it's kind of that thing of, it's hard to really comprehend as a casual fan just how much energy is just exiting this bot in whatever way possible in 3 minutes.
Right, because I hate to keep talking about my bot all the time, but
it's your only point of reference, though.
Right, and it's the only one that I could remotely sound intelligent about because I'm not smart. But our bot is a hammer bot, so it's not a big spinner like Tombstone. It's not Invader. It's not a giant, huge weapon bot when you think about it. But when you do the math on our bot, and when we did the testing, the amperage on the hammer, if we're driving and swinging the hammer, we're doing close to 1,000 amps, and that's insane.
That is mental.
And like I said, when you look at the bot, it doesn't look like we'd be using that much power. So you take that and put it on a big spinner like Ray. I mean, they're pulling 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 amps on startup, on spin up. So it is an insane amount of power, and you're asking your components to do that, whether or not they were designed for that in the first place.
What kind of storage does a LiPo have?
Ours were 8-cell, 5 amp hours.
For reference, a mobile phone is like 2,000, 3,000 milliamp hours.
If that, yeah.
If you discharged your phone in 3 minutes, you'd think you'd gone crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
you think about it, when you start your car, you're pulling 60, 70 amps on your starter motor to start your big,
okay.
Well, we have big V8s here. I don't know what you guys have over there, but
I'm probably doing about 5. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the closest comparison I can think. And I used to think 20 amps was a lot.
Did you say 5 amp hours?
5,400 milliamp hours. So 5.4 amp hours per pack. It wasn't 5 right on the nose. It was 5 something. Yeah. So we're thinking that we might be able to drop a pack off based on the new ratio on the hammer if we could pull less current, because we were only dropping about 50% out of the packs in our matches, and we went the full 3 minutes a couple times, so we have a pretty good baseline to judge battery power.
So basically, I think to answer that question, because there's so much power and you can't always get it completely right in your test environment. You can't always put in the right parameters on your speed controller. You can't always get it 100% right.
Right, and you also don't know how accurate the specs are given on the controllers. I mean, you can buy hobby controllers that claim they can do 100 amps. Can they really do that? You don't know.
Yeah.
And then when you really try to do 100 amps, you'll find out if the ratings are correct.
And this is where the community comes in for building a fighting robot. You ask someone what is a good speed controller, right?
Yeah, because somebody somewhere has probably blown one up. So what were you doing when you blew it up? And there you go. There's your line.
That's really cool. I mean, it's a really good question from Michael, actually. Just
Yeah, I wish I had more electronics knowledge to explain it better.
don't worry. I think Gabe would have been just as useful as you were. I think we might be done.
All right, good. Well, I hope I wasn't too terrible.
No, it's been a pleasure. Do you have any sponsors for Blacksmith that you want to mention?
Yeah, maxamps.com. Gabe provided our LiPo battery packs. And MPC Robotics is our new sponsor for Season 3.
Oh, new one. Okay.
And anybody else out there who is interested in sponsoring us can contact me through the Facebook page.
NERC event coming up October 6th.
October 8th at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia.
Yeah. If you want to get involved with NERC, is it something that new people can get involved with?
Absolutely. Check out nerc.us. We have a whole section in there dedicated to getting started. It's called Build a Bot. It has lots of links to resources of just information. If you've never built a bot before, you saw it on TV and you want to get involved, there's a link in there to the RioBots tutorial, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, you could build a bot just solely from that. And we actually have several people coming to Franklin Institute that, they saw BattleBots on TV and they found us and they're coming out to the event for the first time.
That's awesome. Really good to hear about that sort of thing.
So we're getting some renewed interest, which is great.
Yeah.
And everybody benefits from everybody being on TV.
So that is, if you're in kind of the northeast of the US, that is your place to go for bot action, is it?
Yep. We're based in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area, basically the Northeast, yes.
Cool. I'll let you get on with your life because I know, you're an important man.
Yeah, I got some important pizza here waiting for me.
Exactly. Well, we say no more. I know exactly how important pizza is, and I'll let you get on with it. Cheers out. It's been a pleasure. I've been Will Sedgwick.
And I've been Al Kindle.
And this has been Inside the Bot.